It's my pleasure to welcome Abhijit Iyer Mitra, also known as Abhijit Doran Iyer Mitra. And when he's batting and he gets bowled, he goes by Abhijit Playdon Iyer Mitra. Abhijit, welcome to PGurus channel.
Har Har Mahadev. Thank you for having me on.
Har Har Mahadev, Abhijit. And today we would like to hear your thoughts on what the United States will be up to if it decides to deploy its forces away from Europe in the South China Sea region. Where do you think they are going to put their troops? What do you think could be cooking in the kitchen of Mike Pompeo? Take it away.
So there's lots of issues now that have come up, both the Americans and now the Australians. The Australians were subject to a cyber attack.
Yes.
And they've just committed $18 billion per year additional on top of their current budget because of what's happening with China. The biggest victim in all of this COVID, which we haven't discussed really, has been Vietnam. Okay. And yes. Vietnam, why? Because it's the one area where US naval power is at its low. They don't go into Vietnam for obvious reasons, for historical reasons. So you have
sore wounds.
So you need a boosting of a lot of people right now. South Korea and Japan can hold their own. India thinks it can hold its own. The people who really need help are Vietnam and Taiwan. And Hong Kong, unfortunately, is a gone case. They've reneged on the one country, two systems agreement.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about it because it's Chinese sovereign territory. You can't use military force or anything like that to, back yourself up. So what's done is done. And this is sort of what I see happening, though, is just a show of force. Maybe a few carrier battle groups coming into the South China Sea, and that's about it. There's nothing more than that America can do right now.
Well, think about this. See, if America doesn't want to land troops in Hong Kong to save Hong Kong, it still has a problem on its hands in that America has been the one that has been propping up the Hong Kong dollar. And as such, most countries that import or export from China, they use this currency to basically do all their dealings. And they kind of shut their eyes off to the fact that the RMB is printed like mad by China. And they figure that China uses RMB for its own internal circulation. I don't want to see that thing. As long as I'm able to sell and buy using the HKD, I'm okay. Does this new move imperil the HKD?
I'm not sure how it does, because we've known for a long time that they've been using the Hong Kong dollar as a second currency while currency manipulating the RMB.
Yes.
Right? Hong Kong has certain very strong checks and balances that the British left behind. So you can't really manipulate Hong Kong's currency, but you can manipulate Chinese currency. And so they were basically using the sort of two currency system. Now, the issue is, what is the interface here? Because, you really can't. Everybody knows that China is a currency manipulator, but nobody wants to call China out on it. Okay, because of the enormous dependency on China, nobody wants to take on China about it. Just like everybody knows China is a shameless nuclear proliferator, but nobody wants to touch, Chinese proliferation with a barge pole. We've had these discussions. We've had these discussions with the British, with the French, with everyone about Chinese nuclear smuggling and nuclear assistance, military nuclear assistance to Pakistan. And all of them are like, look, we know about it, but we don't want to do anything about it. If you want to do something about it, congratulations to you. We're not with you. Okay. The same thing applies even in the monetary sphere, because the business interests are so great. And there is this acceptance somehow that politics should not interfere in business, but business can interfere in politics. Business can influence politics. Therefore, uh, interests are determined by business leaders in that sense, which is a very, very dangerous path to go down. But anyway, it is what it is. So, what are you going to do? That may very well be the case, but I don't think even Mike Pompeo or Trump will have the ability in election year to go after China the way they want to.
Well, there is one other process that has started. A congressman, Scott Perry, has moved a bill in Congress wanting to recognize the autonomous zone of Tibet, autonomous region of Tibet, as a separate sovereign country, and for United States to recognize that. Now it is going through the motions in the Congress now. It could very well get fast tracked, and it could be presented in the Senate, and then after that sent to President Trump for a signature. You may say, well, this is just a gesture. It doesn't mean anything on the ground. However, it does mark China to be an aggressor in possession of area that it doesn't think the world doesn't think that it should be owning. So that could be a way to apply pressure from United States, and it might even get India to endorse it for a change. India might be very proactive and do that. How do you think that scenario would play out?
Look, it's purely sort of token. It's a token gesture, because if you remember, where this whole COVID thing happened, America passed the bill saying, we'll take steps to ensure Taiwan is recognized. Have you seen a single country switch recognition to Taiwan? No. So, we can do this, but these are all token measures. It is important though, because it, what do you say? Hausla badhta hai. Tibetan logon ka hausla badhta hai.
Right.
Problem is, the Tibetans, unfortunately, like the Baloch, have been given a lot of false hope. They die for these false hopes because they think a solution is around the corner. Something happens, and then China cracks down and kills hundreds of thousands of them, or throws them into concentration camps or something like that. This is the same thing that India did to the Balochi. We were helping them, and then suddenly when this government takes over, we stopped supporting them, and they've been slaughtered in their thousands. I don't want to see that happen to the Tibetans. So, it's all fine, but I want to see what the next steps are. Recognition is just one part. And then what? And then what? I want to see a roadmap.
That's a very good suggestion, Abhijit. Now, I'm just going to set the context for you here. Trump is trailing in the polls. The coronavirus has taken a turn for the worse because of perhaps premature opening, and people thronged the beaches without face masks. And that has resulted in a recurrence in a very, very strong way, including in California, in the southern part of California. So the writing is becoming clear on the wall. And you can assume one out of the following three persons is going to be the vice presidential running mate of Joe Biden. I'm just guessing here. I could be wrong. Susan Rice, Kamala Harris, or outside chance, Michelle Obama. Now, the reason I'm thinking of these three is Biden wants somebody who can put the contest beyond doubt. Even if Trump were to come up with somebody who could be a rabbit out of the hat, with like not Pence, but somebody who could really be like a rabble rouser for the Republicans. I don't know who it is. It could be Newt Gingrich. For all you know. So you want to put the contest beyond any doubt. So if that is the case, what do you think Trump would need to do between now and November? The window is closing. He needs to show some results by November, which means he needs to act within the next couple of months. What do you think he will do?
Look, first of all, I don't think either of those three vice presidential names you brought up, Michelle Obama maybe, but Kamala Harris and Susan Rice would completely sink any chances that Biden had. I don't think Trump actually needs to do much, because remember, these were the same polls that were telling us throughout the 2016 election that Trump was going to lose. All right, they were all predicting a landslide for Hillary Clinton. Remember that? So
Yes, but one small difference. What had happened was there was this email problem of Hillary that refused to go away, and there was a lot of flip
no, no, no,
flopping that
no,
happened.
that is not. We're not talking about why. We're simply talking about how wrong the polls got it. All right, there's a fundamental self-referential system to polls. Polls have nothing to do with emails. Problems, whatever they are, reflect in the polls. They're not reflecting in the polls out here. They didn't reflect in the polls in 2016. So first of all, I don't take these polls after what happened in 2016. I don't take these polls too seriously. I'm hoping these people have corrected their methodology, but I don't think so. You basically now have Biden, who is a white male centrist. What he needs to win the election campaign by himself, he's going to get slaughtered by Trump, because you've seen his dissociative disorder on TV once too often. And CNN actually had an attack piece on Fox News just for asking him about his dissociative disabilities at the moment. So, what do you think is going to happen? I personally see that the more and more this election gets divisive, Trump is going to get most of the votes. Joe Biden, unfortunately, because he is the centrist in the party, he is the one that's able to do bipartisanship. He will require somebody to shore up the left of the party. Because remember, it was the left of the party, the Rust Belt workers and things like that, that ended up voting for Trump. Now, the problem is when he goes for somebody from the left of the party, he will have to choose some crazy like Susan Rice, some crazy like Ilhan Omar, maybe, who is going to completely alienate everybody else's vote for him. Because this is the problem. One of the reasons Trump won. Remember, most of the states that voted for Trump also voted for Barack Obama. Why did they then switch to Trump? And the reason was very simple, that this overweening leftward turn, this social justice warrior turn, it alienates more Americans than it brings votes on board. I am quite convinced Trump is going to win this election, and I really think we need to take these opinion polls with a huge pinch. Think of it as a bucket of salt with a grain of truth.
Well, very insightful observation there, Abhijit. And US tends to self-correct fairly quickly in terms of psephology and things like that, and we have to see how that plays out. In summation, what do you think is going to happen in the next couple of months in the tussle between US and China?
Several things. You saw the FCC order declaring some Chinese companies to be security risks and sanctioning any companies that work with them and kicking them out of America for all effects and purposes.
ZTE and Huawei and all chip companies of America will not be able to sell them any chips. I think by end of August, that's the last day, and then after that they cannot sell anymore.
Right. Anyway, this was a market that India should have moved into, but thankfully, because our policies are so business unfriendly, we'll never be able to move into that market. That's a different matter. But what I see happening is a slow, steady acceleration of the trade war. You won't see much in terms of military deployments, maybe a few ships here and there, maybe one sail through of a carrier battle group. But you'll see basically what India is doing is what is America is doing. You start identifying what you can hit China with and slowly start grading it up. The more China moves to integrate Hong Kong, the more you undermine the RMB. The more China takes over Hong Kong, the more you start sanctioning Hong Kong-based businesses. Because the moment you start ruining Hong Kong's prosperity, that is where the credibility and the sort of divine mandate of the CCP to rule over the Hong Kongese goes to shreds. Because it is based on the fact that China will be able to provide you with a good quality of life. You take away that fundamental social compact, that's the end of you. So I'm seeing a staged trade war that will take 5-6 years to see, that will keep escalating over the next 5 to 6 years, not months, years. Because you know what India also did? First step was banning the apps. Second step was kicking them out of road construction projects. Third step will be to kick them out of any 5G projects. They're already being kicked out of the 4G upgradation project. They're also going to get kicked out of the 5G project, right? Slowly, 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 graded approach. That is what works, because then you are creating enough breathing space to give local companies time to adapt to kicking these people out of the global supply chains. How far we can take it, how far we're willing to go, that's a different matter. But we, I mean, the whole of the free world, India, Europe, America. I can tell you, even in Europe right now, there are very, very serious calls that Huawei needs to be kicked the hell out. No 5G network for them. They have spread this false impression amongst people that they are the only people who are able to give you a holistic, complete 5G network, which is absolute rubbish. The only Chinese differential, like for all things, is price point. They give you a third-rate product at a third-rate price. All right. That doesn't mean you have to buy a Mercedes Benz. You can settle for a Toyota. You still don't need to buy Chinese rubbish. So, there are lots of options in the market. Let's look at them.
Well, very, very interesting thoughts there. Abhijit, thank you very much for sparing the time to talk with our viewers. And viewers, don't forget to subscribe for PGurus channel, and also please donate to our cause. We are very thankful to those of you who are putting recurring donations. We appreciate your help, and we'll continue to bring you quality programming. And thanks once again, Abhijit, for taking the time out to share your thoughts with us.
Har Har Mahadev.
Har Har Mahadev.